Okay, let's break this down. It's a simple story, really. One hill, one king. And then, a new kid arrives. This is the story of the West versus China.
So, for a long time, you had one king on the hill, right? He made all the rules for the entire playground. We'll just call him the West. And everybody, I mean everybody, played his game.
And then, a new kid shows up. China. At first, they were pretty quiet, just kind of watching the game, learning all the rules.
Now, the king, he actually helped the new kid out. The thinking was something like, hey, if I teach him my games, he'll play by my rules. But that helping hand, well, it ended up creating his biggest challenger. So the West started opening doors. You had Nixon's visit back in '72, a special trade deal in '80, and then boom, in 2001, China officially joins the global playground. The whole time, the West was thinking, if we help their economy grow, they'll become more like us. But by 2013, China's new leader, Xi Jinping, had a completely different playbook in mind.
And what happened next? Well, it was a huge surprise to pretty much everyone. As the historian Margaret Macmillan put it, it's like it never even occurred to them that China would beat them by just outperforming them at their own game, capitalism. So the new kid got very, very rich and very powerful. And they did it by playing their own strategy, not by following the king's plan.
And here's where things get really interesting. See, the new kid didn't just learn how to play the game. They started making their own toys. And not just a few. We're talking lots and lots of them. A total flood of new stuff for the playground.
Get this, 30%. That's China's share of all global manufacturing. But hold on, we're not talking about simple little toys anymore. No, this stuff is high-tech. This is what some people are calling the new China shock. And if you want proof, just look at this. What's the coolest new toy on the block? Electric cars, right? Well, who's selling more of them? It's not Tesla. It's China's BYD. I mean, the new kid is actually winning this particular game.
And that flood? It's just getting bigger. China now makes over 80% of the world's solar panels, more than 75% of EV batteries. Their steel is so cheap, like 40% cheaper, that it's shutting down factories in other countries. And listen to this. In just 1 year, 2023, China installed more solar panels than the US has in its entire history. It's just new stuff everywhere.
And this is a real problem. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen basically said that China is just too big. The rest of the world can't absorb all this stuff. So yeah, the old king is getting worried. His friends can't sell their toys anymore because the new kids' toys are everywhere and they're super cheap.
Okay, so here's the really crucial point. This isn't just about the toys being made today. It's really about a race to invent the future. Because whoever wins that race, they get to write the rules for the next game.
So what's the king's most secret, most important piece of tech? It's the advanced computer chips. They're like the brains inside all the other high-tech toys. So the king's goal is to slow China down, and his method? Ban the sale of his most advanced chips. On the other side, China's goal is simple: become self-sufficient. So they start pouring billions into making their own. But here's the twist. The ban didn't really work the way they hoped. The new kid pulled off a huge surprise. A Chinese company, Huawei, released a new phone, and inside was a highly advanced chip they made all by themselves. So the king's plan to stop them? It didn't work. In fact, you could argue it actually made them stronger.
And something like that doesn't just happen by accident. China is deliberately building up its brain power. They're publishing way more science and engineering articles than the US, nearly twice as many. They're producing almost double the number of STEM PhDs every year, and almost half of all new patents in the world. They come from China.
So where does that leave us? What happens now? I mean, the playground is only so big, right? It feels like we're entering a totally new game, one where you have two different players who both want that top spot on the hill.
There's actually a famous term for this exact kind of situation. It's called the Thucydides trap. It describes this really dangerous dynamic you get when a rising power starts to threaten a ruling power. The ruling power gets nervous, the rising one gets more confident, and if you look at history, this kind of situation, well, it often leads to conflict.
And that brings us back to our playground and the ultimate question. Will these two kings learn how to share the hill, or are they gonna fight for it? Does one of them have to push the other one off to become the undisputed king? Honestly, that's the question the entire world is waiting to see answered.